begin from where we left last time. We will share my screen. So we are talking about the naive-based classifier, and we said that naive-based is a probabilistic classifier. I will just quickly revise what we discussed last time. Then I will pause for a while if you have any questions on that. And we said that the naive-based classifier is a probabilistic classifier in a way that it learns the probability value, probability distribution over a set of classes. Then we took this example of predicting whether a metal is gold or not based on the features given as whether it can glitter or not and whether it appears in golden color or not. So golden and glitter are our features or attributes. Let's call them x1 and x2. So features and attributes are x1, x2. And the class that we want to predict is whether the metal is gold or not. Let's call it class Y. And the number of examples in the data set are 5. In this data set, we have 5 examples. Right? So this is just to acquaint you with the terminology of the machine learning. Now onwards, we'll regularly use this kind of words: features, attributes, class label, examples. So that's why I'm repeating all this. The features are something that we observe, and class label is something that we want to predict. So golden and glitter are features, in other words, predictors, and gold metal is class label that we are predicting. So in a way, what we are doing in probabilistic classifier is, given this data set, we believe that this data set comes from an underlying joint distribution of golden, glitter, and gold. So this golden, glitter, and gold, x1, x2, and y, are 3 random variables which can take different values 0 or 1. If we say yes is equal to 1 and no is equal to 0, so it can take these are the 3 random variables, and this is the number of examples that we are looking at is sampled from the distribution of these 3 variables x1, x2, and y. So we are talking about a joint distribution of y and x, right, which is defined as 3 variables x1, x2, and y. And what we want to predict is we want to predict the value of y given x. So once we learn this distribution, we believe that for some new value of x1 and x2, for some new example for which x1 and x2's value are known, we can decide value of y, or we can predict value of y once we know the distribution, right? So that's why we introduced this notion of joint and conditional probability and decided about this to decide about the value of y given x. And we said that we can use Bayes' theorem here. The probability of A given B can be defined as probability of B given A into probability of A divided by probability of B. So we said that the golden and glitter are the features, gold is the metal. So if we know that the metal is gold, then we know that it is glittering and it is golden in color. So given the class label, we can decide the features. So features depends on class label, but the prediction is about class label given features. So we flip that formula using Bayes' rule, and we make it as probability of A given B is equal to probability of B given A into probability A divided by probability of B. From that, we introduce this naive-based classifier, which has 3 components. Probability of B given A is known as likelihood, probability of A is classifier, and probability of B is predictor prior, and what we are predicting is the posterior probability of A given B. So given the observations of B, what can be the value of A? That is posterior probability. Just a second. Yes, sorry. So am I audible now again? Let me go back to what we are discussing. So this was the Naive-Bayes classifier we introduced. It is from Bayes rule. So that's why it is Bayesian classifier. And we also talked about model parameters. We said that to predict whether a metal is golden or not, we are looking at two features, deeper and golden. So model parameters are likelihood and prior. This B given A and PA are our model parameters, likelihood and class prior. And these model parameters are defined as probability of gold is equal to yes, that is class prior, and two likelihood functions, probability of glitter is equal to yes given gold is equal to yes, and probability of golden is equal to yes given gold is equal to yes. This becomes class prior. So in order to answer the probability question of whether metal is gold or not, given its color and whether it is glittering or not, we need to make use of these parameters, class prior and likelihood. And how do we calculate these parameters? We calculate these parameters from the data set. So for example, here, while calculating this probability of gold is equal to yes, we look at all the examples of gold where value is yes. So there is 1, 2, and 3 cases where gold is yes. And total number of examples are 5. So probability of gold is equal to yes is 3 by 5. And probability of gold is equal to no is 2 by 5. Are you with me so far? Is this clear? So what we are talking about is how to calculate these model parameters, specifically class label and likelihood, class prior and likelihood. These are our model parameters. So calculating prior is simple because you just look at how many total number of examples, and out of those examples, how many times gold was yes. Similarly, how many times gold was no. So 3 by 5 and 2 by 5. Then second is calculating likelihood. So likelihood, now there are two variables for prediction, golden and glitter. So we need to calculate two things. Probability of glitter is equal to yes, given gold is equal to yes. So how do we calculate this? We look at all the examples where gold is yes, that is 1, 2, and 3. We look at all 3 examples where gold is equal to yes, and out of those examples, we see how many times glitter was yes. So it was yes, 1. So probability of glitter is equal to yes, given gold is yes is 1 by 3. And similarly, probability of golden is equal, glitter is equal to yes, given gold is equal to no, is look at all the examples where gold is no, 1 and 2. And out of these two, see how many times glitter was yes, then only in both cases, I guess. Both the time glitter was yes. So 2 by 2, that turns out to be 1. Similarly, we calculate the probability of golden is equal to yes, given gold is equal to yes. So look at the examples where gold was yes, 1, 2, and 3. And out of those three cases, there was two cases where golden was also yes. In one case, golden was no. So probability of golden is equal to yes, given gold is yes, is 2 by 3. And probability of golden is equal to yes, given gold is equal to no. The two cases of no, out of those two cases, in one, golden was yes, so it is 1 by 2. Right? This is how we calculate the model parameters. Is this clear? Okay, good. So this is part of training or learning. The things that we have done here in this slide is learning. So actually we have manually computed this thing, but once you write a program for naive-based classifier, the program will do this for you. Program will look at the data and it will calculate all these model parameters. In other words, it will calculate all these probabilities. So this is part of training. So show sufficient number of data to the machine so that it can calculate the probability value. Now one point here about the quality of training is that we said that this data comes from some underlying distribution of golden, glitter, and gold. So we said that there might be thousands of metal objects on which this data is collected. So there might be thousands or millions of metal objects on which the data is collected, but we are using only 5 of them to train our system. So is this a good idea to train only on the 5 data points? So to properly model the underlying distribution, if you have millions of metal pieces and you are taking only 10 metal pieces to calculate this probability, then that may not be a very good idea of calculating. For example, in this case, the probability of glitter is equal to yes, given gold is no, turns out to be 1, which we know that this is not the real situation, right? In reality, this won't happen. But there might be some metals for which it is not, even if it is not gold, it might glitter. But whenever it is not gold and it always glitters, that is a not right assertion. So this probability value, this one is not good. So your data is not good enough. We know that data is not good enough. 5 points are not just sufficient, and it should be much less than this probability. So the point that I am making on a side note here is the data that we are using should be the actual representative of the underlying distribution on which we model the system. So this data points should be representation of the actual distribution, joint distribution of gold, glitter, and golden. Of course, this is a toy example where we are just trying to learn the formula. That's why we are going ahead with this data point. But this was on a side note. So this is training part where you show the data to machine and machine can compute this kind of probability. Since we are manually calculating this, we are taking a simple example of only 2 attributes and 5 examples so that we can directly compute this thing in minutes. But in practice, there might be thousands of data points with hundreds of features. Where manual computation would be very cumbersome. So that's why we need help of machine. And we write an algorithm which can do this thing for us. It will do exactly what we are doing here, count the values and calculate the probabilities. So once these probabilities are learned, what we can do, once these probabilities are learned, we can start answering questions like this. So this is called inferencing question. So you want machine to make an inference, an answer for you. So you want machine to inference or predict. So if you convert the sentence into probability, it would look like this. Probability of gold is equal to yes, given golden is equal to yes and glitter is equal to no. So how do we do this? We apply Bayes rule. So flip the values and convert it into likelihood classifier and predictor pair. And classifier is gold is equal to yes. Predictor pair is golden yes, glitter no. We said last time that let's ignore for a while. Still that continues. We'll still ignore this for a while, but not very long. Towards the end of lecture, we'll talk about this. And likelihood is gold is equal to yes, given comma glitter is equal to no, given gold is equal to yes, which we have broken down into two parameters. Golden is equal to yes, given gold is yes, into glitter is equal to no, given gold is equal to yes. And we said that we have made use of naive assumption. That is, the golden and glitter are conditionally independent given gold. So making use of this naive assumption, we can complete our calculations. I think this is where we stopped last time. Any questions so far? I will wait for 1 or 2 minutes and please ask me if you have any questions here. Is this clear? Okay, good. So let's move on. Now we covered the probability, whatever was required, I told you, and I will cover as and when required. But still, if you feel that you need to revise few things in probability, then these are the 4 points that you need to know. Bayes rule, second is conditional and marginal independence, third is naive assumption, and fourth is chain rule. These are the things we will make use of in our calculation. I have already briefed you, but still, if you think that you need to know it in a bit more detail, I would recommend to search and read on this and come back and ask me if you have still any doubt. If you feel that whatever we have discussed so far is clear, then maybe you are good enough. But if you feel that you need some more insight, then you may have a look at it. Meanwhile, Shaili is asking something. Who identifies that if it is glittering or not? Okay, so that is given. All the attribute values or feature values are given to us, Shaili. Okay, so when we collect a data set, the information is given, and we believe that the information given in the data set is correct. Who identifies that is a process of collecting data set. So again, there can be talk on that also, how to collect data set. But for now, we believe that the data set is given and is correct. Okay, so Jaining is asking the same question: who creates data set? Of course, machine learning engineer would make the data set ready, but then there are domain experts also. You need help of domain expert in creating data set. So, for example, if you are working on metal, then someone from metallurgy, or if you are working on gold, then someone from goldsmith shop, they will come and tag the data for you. If you are working on health domain, if you are working on disease prediction, then in that case, doctors will be part of your dataset creation team. If you are working on language domain, you are creating text data, then language experts will be part of your team. So machine learning engineer would say that I want data like this. But in that case, looking at example and identifying the feature values and outcome values, that will be part of a domain experts. So experts from domain would do this. Have I answered your question, Janil? And nowadays there are way of collecting data in more smarter way also, like through crowdsourcing. People put their problem as a challenge on a crowdsourced platform like AWS or other, where you participate in the challenge and you collect the information. So the Harsh says that what if some data is incorrect? Is there any way to rectify it? Okay, so ideally we do not want incorrect data, but then uh, the mark of intelligence is to separate this data out. So sometimes it is not bad to work with imprecise information. So again, there are two things. One is dealing with incorrect data, plus how much you want to train the system. Do you want to train the system in a way that it can exactly do what you want it to do, and it cannot do anything else? Please, I'm not sure whether I have framed this sentence correctly or not, but please pay attention. So let's say I want to make a system which would say or which would do exactly what I want it to do and nothing else. That is one case. And second case is I want to develop a system which would reasonably do what I want it to do, but it can do something else also. Like in difficult situations where I do not have instructions, it can take its own decision also. So out of these two, which one you would choose? So system A is one which will exactly follow my orders and it won't do anything else. And the system B is one which mostly follow my order, but it can also take its decision on its own. So of course the B one, right? Second one, as Jamil is saying, would be better. Yes, so that is intelligence. That is how we prepare students also. That is how parents train their children also. And that is how the intelligence system goes. So that is the way to go about. So that's why some incorrect information, some imprecision is good. So that is in machine learning term, it is called ability to generalize. How much an intelligence system can extrapolate and create a generalized situation where it won't be exactly as per the trained data, but based on the trained data, it can do something more general also. So that ability to generalize comes from such precision. Right? So anyway, let's go ahead with our talk. So the model parameters which we have calculated here is 3 by 5 and 2 by 3 and 2 by 3, all that. That can be represented by this kind of table. The table is known as a conditional probability table. If you see, it has a table for classifier Py. So this, how do I read this? I read this as probability of y is equal to 0 is 2 by 5 and probability of y is equal to 1 is 3 by 5. Similarly, this is x1 y table, that is probability of x1 given y. How do I read this? Again, probability of x1 equal to 0 given y is equal to 0 is 1 by 2. Probability of x1 equal to 0 given y is equal to 1 is 1 by 3. Probability of x1 equal to 1 given y is equal to 0 is 1 by 2. And probability of x1 equal to 1 given y is equal to 1 is 2 by 3. And it should not be surprising that if you look at the column, it will sum up to 1. Column values would sum up to 1 because probability values usually sum up to 1. And similarly, a table for x2 also, we know that x2 equal to 1 given y is equal to 0 is 1 and x2 equal to 0 given y is equal to 0 is 1. And similarly, x2 equal to 0 given y is equal to 1 is 2 by 3 and x2 equal to 1 given y is equal to 1 is 1 by 3. Values are same as what we have calculated. If you want to verify, you can verify. But this is how model parameters are usually represented, and this is called conditional probability table. In program, it will go in as a two-dimensional array. You will take I and j value. You can loop around it and you can put it in your multiplier. So that's why this representation is useful. Meanwhile, Shail is asking something. For incorrect data, there can also be a machine learning which can rectify it. Okay. I would not say that machine knows that it is incorrect and what should be correct. But over a period, if you show 100 samples, out of 100 samples, 10 samples were bad and 90 were good, then this learning from this 90 good examples would overpower the learning from this 10 bad examples. This is how I would like to put it. So let's come back to this model parameters and conditional probability table. So I'm not saying anything new. Instead of just putting value with equation, I'm just putting the value in table. So are you with me so far in this model conditional probability table? Okay. So now after training, this CPT or conditional probability table is output of the training, right? And that we can use for inferencing or answering the real question. So let us say I have asked this question. What is the probability of y is equal to 1 given x1 equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 0? How do I answer this question? So first thing I do is apply Bayes rule. So once you apply the Bayes rule, this probability of y equal to 1 given x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0 turns out to be probability of x1 equal to 0 given y equal to 1, x2 equal to 0 given y equal to 1, and probability of y equal to 1 divided by probability of x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0. Right? This is how Bayes rule works. Then put these values are now, if you look at the numerator, the value of numerator is already there in the conditional probability table. For example, x1 equal to 0, y equal to 1, there is probability of x1 equal to 0 given y equal to 1 is in the CPT of x1 given y, and that is 1 by 3. Probability of x2 equal to 0 given y equal to 1 is in the CPT of x2 given y, and it is 2 by 3. And probability of y equal to 1 is again 3 by 5. So put this value and you get 1 by 3 into 2 by 3 into 3 by 5. And the numerator value turns out to be 2 by 15. Are you with me so far? Any questions? Only numerator part. We are still not talking about denominator. So is numerator calculation clear? Okay, good. So now the denominator part. What we want to find out is probability of x1 equal to 0, comma x2 equal to 0. So in other words, we want to find out the joint distribution of x1, x2. What we know so far is x1 and x2 are conditionally independent given y, right? And second thing is our model is defined over x1, x2 and y. So we say that the data comes from an underlying distribution of x1, x2 and y. So we are studying the joint distribution of x1, x2 and y. And which is defined as this: x1 given y, x2 given y, and probability of y, where we say that this can also be shown graphically as shown in this blue cartoon. So arrow describes the dependency. So we said that x1 depends on y, so there is an arrow from variable y to variable x. All the circle are random variables, and arrow describes dependency. So x1 depends on y, and x2 depends on y and y. So this is our total formula of joint distribution. We are describing probability of x1, x2, and y as this joint distribution, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is you cannot separately study x1, x2. This you cannot calculate separately. If you want to calculate, you need to introduce y. So this cannot be calculated. You cannot calculate this without y. You need to introduce y here. So how do we do this? Is there any way to introduce y, bring y in this formula? Once we bring y in the formula, we have the answer. That is probability of y, x1, x2, y is equal to this. That formula we know. So we know this formula, but this formula requires y here. And what we have written in denominator is only x1, x2. So how do we bring in this y in this formula? Any idea, any suggestion? So by making x1 and x2 dependent on y, so they are dependent on y, that is the problem. x1 and x2 are dependent on y, that's why you cannot study them without y. So whenever a variable is dependent on other variable, to fix the occurrences of y, not fix the occurrences of y, but whenever a variable is dependent on other variable and you want to study it independently, what you do is something known as marginalization. And it goes like this. If you want to study x1 and x2, and x1 and x2 depends on y, then take all possible value of y. So what is marginalization? When you want to ignore something, when you want to put something in a don't care situation, that becomes marginalization. So study both the cases where y is equal to 0 and y is equal to 1 and sum them up and y is ignored. So probability of x1, x2 is given as probability of x1, x2, comma y is equal to 0 and probability of x1, x2, comma y is equal to 1. This is called marginalization over y because y was not there in the formula, but we want to bring it in the formula. So what do is we take all cases of y. This might look a bit complex in theory, but if you look at the data, you will realize that what we have done is we want to study behavior of x1 and x2, but y is there. So if you want to cover all the examples, how many examples we need to cover? Cover the examples where y was 0. That is 2 examples. And cover the examples where y was 1. That are 3 examples. So in a way, by marginalizing over y is equal to yes case and y is equal to no case, you have covered all the examples. Right? So calculation for y is equal to 0 will be different probability values. And calculation for y is equal to 1 again are different probability values. But all these values are registered in our conditional probability table. And by calculating with both y is equal to 0 and 1, we have covered all the examples. So in a way, y is marginalized. Let us see how it happens. So now let's take a case where x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0 because this is where we want to infer, right? Our denominator was probability of x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0. This was our denominator. So let us see how it can be calculated using this idea of marginalization. So this can be expanded as probability of x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, comma, y equal to 0. And this can be expanded as plus probability of x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, y is equal to 1. And this distribution we know this dependency and we know this distribution x1, x2, y is given by this formula. So we can apply this formula here and we have this equation. Probability of x1 equal to 0 given y is equal to 0 into probability of x2 equal to 0, y is equal to 0 into probability of y is equal to 0 plus probability of x1 equal to 0 given y is equal to 1 into probability of x2 equal to 0 given y is equal to 1 into probability of Sorry, I got disconnected in between. Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, so we are talking about marginalization, and we said that using the idea of marginalization, we can calculate this probability. So probability of x1, x2. Let me share the screen. So this probability of x1, x2 can be calculated as probability of x1, x2, y equal to 0 plus probability of x1, x2, comma y equal to 1. That is by saying that all look at all the possible outcomes of y and sum over it. So eventually you have marginalized the y. And the formula can be expanded as probability of x1 given 0, x1 equal to 0 given y equal to 0 into x2 equal to 0 given y is equal to 0 into probability of y is equal to 0 plus the cases where y was 1. So that is probability of x1 equal to 0 given y is equal to 1 into probability of x2 equal to 0 given y is equal to 1 into probability of y is equal to 1. And now these values we have in our CPT, that is conditional probability table. So substitute those values from the CPT and you get 0 plus 2 by 15. So the denominator is 2 by 15. What was the value of numerator? Numerator was also 2 by 15, if you remember. So the total probability that we get of y is equal to 1 given x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0 is 2 by 15 divided by 2 by 15, that turns out to be 1. This is a very bad answer, right? Because it is neither glittering nor golden and still machine says that it is gold. But as I say, the training will be as good as the data that we are showing to the machine. And where does the thing go wrong here? Can anyone tell me? Why we are not getting a good answer here? The reason for this bad answer is here. This probability of x2 given 0, x2 equal to 0 given y is equal to 0. This case turned out to be 0 in our example here. And why it turned out to be 0? Because there was no example where y was 0 and x2 was also 0. So what machine has inferred is, if it is not gold, it has to glitter, right? So that is not good. And that's why while creating this PPT, I told you that the data sample is coming from actual underlying distribution, and the data, we should have sufficient data or good enough data so that it is an actual representation of something underlying representation. Yes, so we can increase the data samples, we can collect the samples where gold is no and nickel is also no, and then it can be non-zero and it can pull down the probability value. It should actually reduce the probability value, but since here it turns out to be 0, the probability turn out to be 1. Right? That is one thing. So we'll see. So first thing is that there should be no cases where the data is 0. But let's say we have created large data set, but still there are some cases where some probability value turns out to be 0. Then what to do? So we'll see about that also. We'll talk about that also sometime. And second, so that is later on. Second thing I want you to do now is calculate answer for this. Let me write the question. So this was our question on which we have done some calculation. You answer for this case. What will be your answer? I just want to see, just to make sure that you know the computation. Tell me what will be answer for this. Can someone quickly compute and tell me? We know the answer for y is equal to 1 when x1, x2, 0. Now I want to see what is the answer for y equal to 0. What should be the answer that we know? Answer should be 0 because both these probabilities should sum up to 1, right? Then it will have, you are right. But let's see how what comes in formula. That is, let me put it in formula. It will be probability of x1 equal to 0 given y equal to 0 into probability of x2 equal to 0 given y equal to 0 into probability of y equal to 0 divided by probability of x1, x2. So if you see this will bring everything, this will make everything 0. Right? So it turns out to be 0. So that we want to avoid. As I said, we'll talk about this a bit later, maybe next lecture. But another thing where I want to draw your notation, draw your attention is this part, denominator part. If you see this denominator, in both the calculations, first one and second one, the denominator is same, right? X1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0. So whether you are answering for probability of y equal to 0 or you are answering for denominator is same as probability of y equal to 1 given x1 is equal to 0, x2 equal to 0. In both the cases, denominator turns out to be the same. And that is why denominator does not matter also. We went through the theory of marginalization to get the actual computation. But if you are doing just naive-based classifier, you can ignore denominator and you can calculate. So what usually we do is calculate probability of y is equal to 1 given x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, and probability of y is equal to 0 given x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0. Calculate without denominator and so if the y is equal to 1 is larger, then I produce answer y is equal to 1. If y is equal to 0 is larger, then produce answer for y is equal to 0. We can do this. So computationally, it doesn't matter if you are calculating denominator or not. Whichever is the larger quantity that will be produced as now you would not sum up to 1 because you have not done the complete calculation. You have ignored the denominator because it was same for all value of y. So you ignored the denominator in your computation to save some time. So the probability will not sum up to 1, but that doesn't matter because you want to produce the class label for which the probability is maximum. Right? Does this make sense? So that is why if you look at this online blog on naive classifier at this towards later science or mix for bits or analytical vidyas, then many times they would ignore this denominator. They should not. And actually, in some blog, I don't remember the name, but in some blog, they have done the wrong computation also. So I give you the complete computation just to show that, just to make sure that you don't get the wrong thing. But otherwise, in computation, you can ignore the denominator because you want to choose the probability, the class label for which the probability is highest. Anyway, so that's it from me for the basic naive-based classifier today. We'll take some special cases like what happens when the data points are zero, the cases where the data is missing, the cases where the variable are not digital but they are continuous. Here we have taken only binary values, but what if they are continuous variables? All these things we will discuss in next lecture, but we have few minutes. So I will wait for some time and please ask me if you have any questions on this. So Keval is asking, can we decide efficiency by just one testing data? No. So we need reasonably large size of testing data also and large size of test training data also. So we'll talk about this during lab, that what is a good amount of training data, what is good amount of testing data. That we'll see in laboratory. But usually it is 70%, 30% split. So 70% data is for training and 30% data is for testing. And while we are testing, we just don't measure efficiency. We also measure, there are some other measures also, which also we need to discuss, that we will discuss in lab. Practically, probability can be 0 or 1. Probability can be 1 or 0, but the problem in our case is when it becomes 0, it will it will make the entire quantity 0, which we do not want. Okay, so shall we end here if there are no other questions? Yes, Chanel, I will share this note. I will make it proper and by this weekend I will share notes. Yeah, let's end it here then. Thank you.